Hey guys, so in my last video I was talking about the words that for me snap me out of the old way of thinking, the way of thinking that you probably just defaulted to before starting to get introduced to the concepts about manifesting and the influence that you actually have on what's happening in your life that maybe you didn't realize you had before. And I was in that video I was talking about situations that people often find themselves in where every solution that you can come up with is suboptimal. So like the example that I used that I got messaged to me a lot was, you know, people that were, say, like in their 20s and still living with their parents, and they have, like, say, one of their parents is abusive, or there's like a narcissistic type of situation, an unhelpful situation, one that is detrimental to the mental state. But at the same time, you know, they couldn't move out because they didn't have the money, and you know, you're just sort of like between a rock and a hard place. And so I was talking about that when you find yourself in a situation like that, you know, it's very easy to lapse into the mentality of all my options are bad. And that feeling, like, if you just even think about that, all of my options are bad, brings on that like sinking feeling in your stomach, that dejected, hopeless feeling. And that you can stay stuck there. I mean, you could just divert your attention somewhere else with that feeling kind of sitting with you for days, weeks, months at a time. And the way out of that for me is simple. It's just remembering that this can all change. It's reminding myself and becoming conscious and aware of how the infinite number of factors that are going into my situation, keeping it where it is. There are lots and lots of them, and many, if not all, many are coming from you personally, from the way you're thinking, the way you are, all of that. And so if you just remind yourself that this can all change, you know, the solutions that I've come up with are like the 5 obvious traditional ones, and they don't seem like they're going to work. There are a billion that I haven't come up with. There are a billion that exist. Anything, anywhere, you know, could happen to, with its influence ending up on changing my situation. There are just a billion ways that this could resolve. And just reminding yourself that, you know, this can change. I'm not seeing everything. I don't have the scope of vision to understand what could and will happen in order to resolve this. All you have to do is keep your mind on the outcome that you want. And when the thoughts come up like, well, God, to get there, I'm going to have to go through this horrible thing. Unless you know that is definitely going to happen, don't think about that. It probably isn't going to happen. And it's a total waste of life to put your mind on, you know, something that you think you're going to have to go through that's going to be unpleasant. You know, just tell yourself, if I have to go through something like that, okay, it's not going to, you know, play out the way I'm imagining and experiencing it right now. You know, when you think about these things, you're basically pre-experiencing the thing you don't want to experience in the first place. The way we exist mentally is insane a lot of the time. But so that's what I do. Anyway, all of that to say that, how do you know then when it's the right thing, when to manifest a specific path out of a situation? Or when, you know, how do you know when to just wash your hands of trying to figure things out, or when to focus on something? So like in that situation, when is it the right thing to focus on moving out rather than just kind of like stepping back and saying, I don't know what's going to resolve this situation? And that to me is a very simple answer. It's when it makes you feel good. Like, you'll know with the feeling that you have when you're thinking about the solution, if it's the right thing to do to put your mind and your energy on that. And this is tricky and nuanced because it really doesn't pay ever, in my experience, to get so fixated on something happening that then if it doesn't, you're all devastated. Because the fact that you're fixating on a solution, a way out of a situation, doesn't change the fact that you still can't see all the different things that could happen to resolve it. It may not happen the way that you focus on happening. But this is really all about, how do you feel? How are, the state of mind that creates the life that you want. And these are all ways of approaching problems and your day-to-day that will produce an overall positive life experience. So, ideally you would never really focus on any outcome, but let's just say you really want to move out. If that makes you feel excited and you're not thinking, oh God, but how would I afford the rent? And how would I find roommates? And what if something bad happened? And I don't know if I'm ready to live by myself or ready not to live with my, if that stuff is all quieted and you're like, no, I definitely want to move out, then there's nothing wrong with, I think, in my opinion, focusing on that as the solution, but remaining open to all the other million possibilities of what could happen. People getting fixated on something specific manifesting really appears to me in this community to be the source of the greatest frustration, the greatest disappointment, the greatest confusion. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me, and that's why I almost never do it. There's only a few times where there's been a specific thing I really wanted that I kept coming back to, sort of without even meaning to, and generally if I return to a specific thing and I'm just like, man, I really want that thing, then I know that I'm going to probably get that specific thing. But anytime my mind wanders to something I don't have that I want, that's specific, if it starts to cause me any kind of, I don't know what the word is exactly, a discomfort. Like if I start feeling a little upset that I don't have it or that I might not get it, I move away from that mentally. I try not to think about that anymore. I remind myself why I don't really need it and why it's definitely not worth having any negative emotions over, and then I just move on. That's what I've done about the specific things that I've gotten, of which there are many. Most of the time, if I keep coming back, I get that specific thing that I want. So I don't know, that's my advice on how to know when to focus on a specific solution to a problem rather than just stepping back and not doing that. If you really feel excited about something, if you really feel like there's a path for you out of your situation that seems like the ideal solution and doesn't seem like, the least of all of the evils that could possibly resolve your situation, there's nothing wrong with focusing on that. I would just advise not to get too caught up on it, because you could easily miss something even better, an even better way out. To me, the sign of somebody who has advanced with all of this in their understanding and experience are those who get the I want this or something better. That is, getting to the point where you understand why detachment is the best way to go with all of this stuff. That to me is a sign that you have had some experience. You've had some, you've gotten some things that you wanted and realized that they really weren't ideal. And you really don't actually know what's the best thing for you a lot of the time. People that can admit that to themselves and get past their ego and just say, I know that I don't know. I've seen that I don't, what I think I want for myself isn't always what I actually want when I get it. Sometimes it's just, I haven't really even thought about myself in relation to the thing I think I want and how much I would actually hate having that. I don't know. It takes a certain amount of a willingness to accept yourself and critically look at yourself before you can do that, I think. So when people are open to the something better, that's when I'm talking to somebody who gets that, that's when I know I'm at least talking to somebody who is, in the same vicinity of where I am at this time. So anyway, I hope that helps somebody. Have a great day.